and welcome back. So today we are going to look at the correct posture during pregnancy. Now your posture is obviously naturally affected by pregnancy. Why? Because of the greater load on the muscles. Now, they actually say that you can expect to gain something up to like 12 kilograms towards the end of your pregnancy. Now, that's crazy. That's like carrying around 4 large bags of grocery shopping around. So your balance and your center of gravity also changes, and the weight of your baby draws your weight more forward. So you might find that you are standing more over the front of your foot rather than through the center of the arch. So ladies, your abdominal muscles obviously become more stretched as your baby is growing, and as a result, these muscles are less able to contract to help you to keep your lower back in its proper alignment. Then we also have hormone levels that increases during pregnancy and causes the joints and the ligaments to loosen and to help to make space for that beautiful growing baby. Then you might have noticed that your breasts are also growing in size, and this might lead to the neck curvature to move forwards. And as a result, the shoulders can also move forward and inwards. And then this can cause the chin to extend more forward. You may also experience other postural changes like forward tilting of the pelvis, which can cause pelvic or lower back pain. You might be experiencing an increased lower back curve, which can cause nerve irritation in the legs. You might experience upper back thoracic changes, which can cause rib pain and difficulty breathing because of that reduced lung capacity. So ladies, this is why we are discussing the correct posture during pregnancy, because there are so many postural changes happening that we are not even aware of. And a good posture will reduce your aches and pains, including that pelvic girdle pain, and also it betters your lung capacity and your breathing. So Pilates will help you to create an awareness of your posture and help you to adapt and cope with your changing body. So you can train your body to sit, stand, walk, and lie down in positions that will put the least amount of strain on your back. So with this awareness and good postural habits, you can better your pregnancy experience by going through a strong, upright, without pain and confidence. Let's have a look at that ideal posture during pregnancy. All right, let's start. So, our feet are going to be parallel facing forward, in line with your knees and your hips and hip distance apart. Take note of your even distribution of your body weight, forward, backwards, and sideways. So you don't want to favor one leg over the other, but find that beautiful, even distribution between both of your feet. Good. Looking straight ahead, level out in front of you. So don't bring your eye line slightly up and don't bring it slightly down. Because if you do that, it affects the curvature of your neck and the rest of your spine as well. Now we're going to think of lengthening the spine by pulling all the way through from the bottom of the foot, all the way through the legs and the entire back neck. And just think of pulling the crown of the head straight up to the ceiling. And that lengthened feeling also actually helps to increase the distance between your rib cage and your pelvis. So if you have a shortened spine, then you're not making enough space for that beautiful baby to grow. So your baby has more space to swim in your belly and also your hip flexors. You're taking the strain off those hip flexors and giving them room to pull outwards and downwards. Also, you want to think of slightly bent knees, not lock knees backwards. Because what normally happens when you lock the knees backwards, your weight might shift even more forward because we are already struggling a little bit with the weight that we are bearing, which pulls our weight more forward. So when you have locked knees, it becomes more difficult and you're gripping everything, your buttocks, everything is just working a lot harder. So help yourself by bending the knees slightly, and that helps with the even distribution of the weight exactly where you want your weight to be. Now, the chin. Remember we talked about the chin sometimes pulls more forward during pregnancy because of your enlarged breast that's bringing that extra weight a little bit more forward. So if your chin is slightly out, you're going to think about pulling that chin back towards the spine. So it's not a downwards pulling, it's not an upwards pulling, backwards pulling. It's literally a level pulling from there. Just pull it back towards the spine. Good. But when you do that, don't just think of crunching it back. You also have to think of lengthening the neck and pulling it back. Then you create that beautiful posture line going all the way up as you want. Then your shoulders might have dropped slightly forward, right, with that postural change and all the weight that is pulling the shoulders forward. So we want to bring the shoulders back as well. Now, be careful that you don't do this kind of pulling back, okay? So that's not what we mean by pulling your shoulders back. What you have to think of is putting the shoulders outwards and downwards. It's a completely different feel than just pulling them all the way back. Okay? So shoulders, if they are forward, you're thinking of lengthening outwards and downwards. Oh, it's such a lovely stretch that you feel in the front, and you just feel like your muscles are activating in all the right places. So if you are pulling your shoulders back, you will notice that your shoulder blades are being crunched in the middle. We don't want that crunch look. Okay, so this is what happens when the shoulders are going back. But when you bring your shoulders outwards and downwards, then your shoulder blades are nice and flat against the back of your rib cage. How do I actually know if my shoulders are in the correct alignment with my spine? So there's a beautiful checklist way of checking if you're doing it right. So notice the earlobe. If your chin is forward, then your earlobe is also not in line with the neck as it should be. So pushing the chin back places your earlobe in a beautiful direct line with your neck, which you can then trace to your shoulder. So earlobe in line with the neck and then in the line with the mid part of your shoulder. Now we are moving on to the ribs. Don't push your ribs out. You see what happens? If I push the ribs out, then there's that extra curvature in the spine and you're placing a lot of strain on your lower back. So you want to think of placing your hand or your fingertips on your sternum and just give it a slight pull back towards the back of your spine. So it's a slight movement, but it makes all the world's difference. Good. See that slight movement? That's where you want your ribs to be. Then also you can check the bottom of your rib cage should be in a direct line with the top of your pelvis. So when you are pushing the ribs out, then you see there's that inclined position that's happening there. So we want to correct that and make sure when the ribs are back in the correct placement, it will go directly and sit nicely on the top part of your pelvis. Good. So we've got the ribs in place. Now we are looking at our pelvic region. So our pelvis, we want in a neutral position. So that means no forward tilting anteriorly and no backwards tilting posteriorly. Okay? So you can play with this feeling of tilting all the way forward and tilting all the way back, and then finding your neutral position. Okay, so when you're tilting the pelvis backwards, you're scooping the pelvis, and you actually then often clench your buttocks. And when that clenching also happens and the scooping happens, you're shortening your spine. And we don't want that. We want the lengthened feeling of the spine growing beautifully nice and tall upwards. So it's going to take time if you're not used to knowing exactly where your neutral is. So that's why I'm saying play with it. Just feel what it feels like to tilt forward, what it feels like to tilt backwards, and then find your neutral spine position, pelvic position. So it's going to take time and practice, and as long as in the beginning you're consciously aware of it, and then the more you take note of it and practice it, it will start to feel natural, and you will know exactly where your neutral pelvic position should be. Good. Now, time to activate your core muscles. How do we do that? Right. Your belly button is a great reference point. So you want to pull your belly button gently towards the spine. Okay? It's such a small movement. It's not a sucking in of your stomach muscles and holding your breath. It shouldn't be difficult. It really is a minute, small kind of feeling, very gentle. Belly button towards the spine. You see how it just helps to lift up that heavy belly that we are growing, right? So a beautiful way to think of that is to tie an invisible string to your belly button and then taking the string right through towards the back of the spine. And to be honest, it kind of feels like you're hugging your baby, right? It's just a gentle hug. You're not going to squeeze your baby by pulling backwards so hard. No, you just want to give your baby that extra lifted up support and then just holding that precious baby towards you. That's the feeling that you want. Good. And now, ladies, remember to breathe, right? So, think of your entire posture from the top to the bottom. Just take a moment, and now we breathe. Take a nice deep inhale breath, and exhale. Now, when you're inhaling and exhaling, don't think of inhale, shoulders up, exhale, shoulders down. No, you're actually thinking of it's more an expansion of the ribs sideways and then back in. Okay, so a way for you to feel that you're doing that, you can place your hands on both sides of your ribs and then just feel that beautiful slight pushing outwards of the ribs against the hands as you're breathing out. And then the slight push of the hands just coming back with the ribs as you exhale. Good. Let's try again. And inhale. And exhale. Really open your mouth slightly to help you to get that beautiful breath out. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. Ah, lovely, lovely, lovely. All right, so that's it. That's all the checklist points that you can go through to get that beautiful standing posture during pregnancy. Now, I know it might seem like it's a whole lot to think of and to go through, but you will get it. Just with time and practice, it will become feeling more natural. Because at the moment, because there's so many changes you have to think about, you might feel like it feels strange, it feels wrong, like nothing feels like it's in the right place. And that's okay, because that's how it's going to feel in the beginning. It's going to feel unnatural. But then by correcting all these small changes in your spine and in your placement and body, it's going to take time and it will start feeling natural and the way it should be. So I hope that really helped you. Now we are moving on to the correct sitting posture. So I want you to now go and grab your chair and bring it back. All right, so now we're going to be looking at an ideal sitting posture. So obviously you want to grab a chair that is nice and sturdy and that is of suitable height to you. So when you are sitting right back against your chair, you want your feet to be firmly planted onto the floor. Okay, so that is ideal. If you are a little bit shorter and you don't have the right chair at the moment, it's fine. You can just sit slightly a little bit more forward so that you can feel the feet pressing into the floor. So for demonstration purposes, I am going to sit slightly a bit more forward, but obviously you do want to sit against the back of your chair. Okay, good. So feet are parallel, facing forward in line with the knees and in line with the hips. So now you want to ask yourself this question. Am I slumped forward with a tucked tailbone tucking under, almost like I'm like watching TV? Or am I overarching the lower back, which happens a lot, when you're at a desk job and you're just typing away all day long? This can happen. So you want to check that. So it's sometimes good when you can actually just first sit in front of a mirror and see exactly what your pelvis is doing. You want to obviously sit nice and tall, exactly the same feeling like we talked about in the standing posture applies for the sitting posture. So how do we know if we are too far forward or too far back? Your sitting bones is that reference. So it's that bony part at the bottom. So if you want to, you can just take your hand and try and feel for that bony part. but it should be fairly easy to find, and just know you're sitting directly on top of your bony parts. Okay, good. Nice and tall. You want to create space all the way through from the top of the head all the way up, and your thigh bones are also parallel to the floor. So that is what you want to think of when you're in your sitting position, is that you don't want a bucket seat and you don't want an overarch position. So those are normally the two positions that throw you off when you're sitting. So that is why it's so important to have exactly the right chair for you, for your desk job, or actually even better, get that Pilates ball. It's amazing. It's highly recommended. And also actually think about this posture when you're driving. Because when you're driving, then, we especially with long distances, you tend to go into a slump and the shoulders come forward while you're holding, and then this happens, right? This is driving position, not good at all. So the same applies to when you're driving. You want that open chest feeling outwards and downwards, and then bring that chin back, lengthen the neck, and actually you can feel the back of your head just slightly pressing against that car seat. So the minute you feel there's too much space between the back of your head and the car seat, then just bring it back. And then naturally you're going to feel the opening up of the chest and the lengthening and the pressure that's coming off. And you're making space for that beautiful growing baby. You don't want her to feel crunch ever. Breathing becomes more difficult, and it's just, you start to feel awful very quickly. Also, another note, don't cross your legs. I know it's really hard. Even for me, I often, sometimes just, because we do it so naturally, it's just for a moment, like, what am I doing? No, because obviously it restricts the circulation and it twists your pelvis to be misaligned. And it's just not the ideal posture. So you always rather want to think of a wider stance, rather have your legs more open, create space for the baby, and it helps you to be on top of your sitting bones. So yes, that's basically it for the correct sitting posture. So this ideal sitting and standing posture is basically like your checklist that you can go through and always come back to for when you are wondering if you have been falling into any of those bad postural habits, which we all do from time to time. Okay, so I hope that this helped you and this video was of good value to you. So in my next video, I'm going to do 7 foundational Pilates exercises that will help us to take this postural awareness further more into a moving practice through the way of Pilates exercises. So I hope that you will join me in the next video. So I will see you then.